Yo book nerds, it's Nonfiction November. I have some book recommendations for you. I'm going to give you 5. I try to read at least one nonfiction book a year. Sometimes they're historical, sometimes they're self-help or inspirational or something like that. First book I'm going to recommend is The Tutors by Gj Meyer. This book is about the Tudor dynasty. It talks about Henry VIII and his wives, of course, but it also talks about what led up to Henry VIII's reign and what happened after his reign. And it is so good. It is so well written. I took a class on Tudor England in college, and I wish I had had this book in this class because this would have been a great companion for that class. And I actually emailed my old professor after I read this and told him about this book because I thought it would be great for that class. I think it is very well written, very accurate. I love Tudor England. I love learning about it and kind of am obsessed with it. And so to read this was just a treat. And it read like a story and not like a textbook, which I really liked. It bounces around a little bit, but it does it in a way that flows, and it gives you background to the era too, and not just what's going on with the Tudors, so that you can understand some of the cultural stuff going on as well, which I found fascinating. If you want something for American history, I would recommend Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl by Harriet Jacobs. This is a very short book, but it is very intense and brutally honest about slavery. I read part of this in high school, I believe, and then I read it again in college. I read the whole thing, and I actually wrote a paper on the theme of death in this book, death and rebirth. So maybe I will do a video down the line about themes in this book, because what she went through is just incredible, and the strength that she had is just inspiring. It is not easy to read at some points. It really isn't. My next recommendation is going to be The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I have read this book multiple times. I get something new out of it every time I read it. Anne Frank is such an inspiration, and I just can't imagine what she went through. If you've never read her diary, you really should, because what her entire family went through is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable that this happened. It should never have happened. Obviously, the Holocaust should never have happened. It is a horrible thing. And the fact that she is able to look on her situation and find sparks of joy and inspiration and love and stay devoted to her faith and all of that, it is so inspiring. Yes, she is fearful, and rightfully so. She's fearing for her life, and yet she has this beauty to her soul that shines through. And I just really love this book and recommend it. If you've never read it, you'll get a lot out of it. There's so much in it. Maybe you've already read The Diary of a Young Girl and you want something off of that. I would recommend The Freedom Writer's Diary. This was written and compiled by Erin Grell and her class. It is a collection of diaries from her English class, and they decided to do this kind of based off of The Diary of a Young Girl because they read that in school, and this is their story. And there is a movie adaptation to this which is incredible, but there's so much more to the actual book because the movie only covers like 1 or 2 years of it, if I remember right, and this goes way beyond that. I read this a few years ago when I was laid up after having surgery, and I just flew through it. I couldn't put it down. It is just inspiring what these kids went through. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll just say that it's about these high schoolers who are minorities, and there's gangs involved, and segregation plays a part in this. And even though so much separates these kids, they're able to come together in this English class. Aaron Gruel brings these kids together and gets them to connect across these lines that divide them, and it is just such an amazing story. The last one I'm going to recommend is She Said Yes by Misty Bernal. This is the story of Cassie Bernal, one of the Columbine victims. I'm recommending this one instead of Rachel's Tears. Rachel's Tears is another great nonfiction story about one of the Columbine victims, but I'm recommending this one because it's not as famous as that other one, and I just really got a lot out of this story. It is very short, very quick read, but Cassie Bernal was a very troubled teen, and she died because when the shooters asked her if she believed in God, she said yes. And this story is just amazing. Her mother was just blown away. Her mother's the one who wrote it. Her mother was just blown away that she would give her life for her faith. And it is just a heartbreaking story, but it is inspiring at the same time. I keep saying that for all these books, they're so inspiring, but they are. They are. And that's one of the great things about reading nonfiction, is a lot of them are very inspiring. Yeah, so if you haven't read this, I would give this a try, especially if you've read Rachel's Tears. This is a good companion to it as well. For Nonfiction November, I am currently reading Glen Sheen's Daughter. I am about 90 pages into it. It is so good, so hopefully I will have it done soon, and then I will post a review for it. Don't forget to hit that like button, and if you haven't already, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next week. Thanks for talking books with me.